Captain Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of his warship, the Valkyrie. The ship was quiet except for the low hum of the engines. His crew worked at their stations, checking screens and monitoring space around them. They were on a routine patrol in Sector 7, far from Earth but still within human territory. Then the alarm went off. Lieutenant Katie Brooks looked up from her console. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen. "Captain, we have an incoming signal. It's a distress call." Morrison walked over to her station. "Where is it coming from?" "The edge of the sector. About 40 minutes away at full speed." Katie's face was serious. "Sir, it's bad, really bad. The signal says they're under attack." Morrison felt his stomach tighten. "Who is it?" "Valine transport ships. A whole convoy of them." The Valine. Morrison knew them well. They were peaceful traders who traveled the galaxy selling goods and making friends. They had no weapons on their ships. They didn't believe in violence. 3 years ago, when humanity first joined the galactic community, the Valine had been the first to welcome them. They offered trade routes and friendship when other alien species looked at humans with fear and doubt. "Can we identify the attackers?" Morrison asked. Katie worked her console for a moment. "Yes, sir. It's the Kratok Empire. Multiple ships. They're tearing the convoy apart." Morrison's jaw clenched. The Kratok were raiders and slavers. They were insect-like creatures who saw other species as things to use or destroy. Humanity had warned them to stay out of this sector. The Kratok had ignored the warning. "How many Valine ships?" Morrison asked. 22 in the convoy. 15 are already destroyed. The rest are damaged and can't escape." Morrison didn't hesitate. "Sound battle stations. All crew to combat positions. Set course to intercept at maximum speed." Alarms rang through the Valkyrie. Sailors ran to their posts. The ship's engines roared to life, pushing harder than normal. Morrison activated his command channel. "This is Captain Morrison to all human ships in Sector 7. We have a situation. The Valine convoy is under attack by Kratok raiders. I'm taking the Valkyrie in. Anyone who can reach the area, join us." Battle formation on arrival. Responses came back quickly. The destroyers, Warhawk and Thunderchild, confirmed they were coming. The cruisers Independence and Liberty were already changing course. The carrier, Nightfall, was launching fighters. The big dreadnoughts, Retribution and Ironclad, were moving into position. 8 human warships total. It would have to be enough. Lieutenant Danny Fletcher, the navigator, called out from his station. "Captain, we'll reach the area in 42 minutes. Then we'll make it in 40, Morrison said. "Push the engines past the red line if you have to. Those people are dying." Katie was studying her tactical screen. "Sir, I'm counting 37 Kratok ships. 3 heavy cruisers, 12 medium raiders, and 22 light attack craft. They have us outnumbered almost 5-1. Morrison smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "They think numbers matter. They're about to learn different." He thought about his grandfather. The old man had fought in 3 wars back on Earth, before humans ever reached space. He used to tell young Jack stories about combat, about strategy, about what it meant to be a soldier. One thing he always said was that humans didn't fight fair, they fought to win. "What's the status of the Valine ships?" Morrison asked. Katie checked her screen again. Her face went pale. 3 more just went dark, sir. Only 7 left now. Their shields are almost gone. They won't last much longer." Morrison felt anger burn in his chest. The Valine were innocent. They were merchants and explorers who had shown kindness to humanity. And now they were dying because brutal raiders wanted their cargo and their lives. 38 minutes now, Danny reported. Morrison activated the ship-wide communication system. Every sailor on the Valkyrie would hear his words. "All hands, this is the captain. We're going into a fight. The Valine are under attack. They're our friends. They welcomed us when we were new to the galaxy. They traded with us. They trusted us. Now they need our help." He paused, looking around the bridge at his crew. They were young, most of them. But they were ready. He could see it in their eyes. The Craddock think they can do whatever they want. They think we're just another weak species that will run away or negotiate while innocents die. They're wrong. We're from Earth. We're from a death world where everything tried to kill us for millions of years. We survived because we're tougher, meaner, and more determined than anything else in this galaxy. Morrison's voice got harder. We don't leave friends behind. We don't let bullies win. And we sure as hell don't negotiate with slavers and murderers. When we arrive, we're going to hit them with everything we have. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten someone a human cares about. We're going to make sure they never attack anyone again. The crew responded with determination. They checked their weapon systems. They prepared the railguns and missiles. They made sure every shield generator was running at full power. Morrison looked at the tactical display. The red dots representing Craddock ships swarmed around the green dots of the Valine convoy. Even as he watched, another green dot flickered and died. 35 minutes, Danny said. It felt like forever. Every minute meant more Valine dying. Morrison paced the bridge, watching the distance count down. The other human ships were converging from different directions. They would all arrive at almost the same time. Katie suddenly looked up. Sir, the Craddock are hailing us. Put them through. The screen showed an insect-like face with multiple eyes and sharp mandibles. The Craddock commander clicked and chittered, and the computer translated his words. Human vessel, turn back. This doesn't concern you. The Valine are our prey. Leave now or we will destroy you too. Morrison stared at the alien face. When he spoke, his voice was cold and calm. This is Captain Jack Morrison, of the Earth warship Valkyrie. You have attacked our allies. You have murdered innocent civilians. You have 30 minutes to surrender your ships and prepare to face justice. The Craddock commander made a sound that might have been laughter. 30 minutes? We will be done with the Valine in 10. As for you, human, your 8 little ships mean nothing. We have 37. You cannot win. Morrison's smile was dangerous. You're right about one thing. This will be over in less than 30 minutes. But you're very wrong about who's going to win. See you soon. He cut the transmission. Katie was pale. Sir, they're not scared at all. They think we're bluffing. Good, Morrison said. Fear makes people cautious. I want them confident and stupid when we arrive. Lieutenant Greg Hamilton, the tactical officer, spoke up. Captain, their ships are designed to fight energy weapons. Most galactic species use lasers and plasma. Our railguns and missiles are going to be something new for them. Morrison nodded. Exactly. They're optimized for the wrong kind of fight. They're going to learn why Earth developed kinetic weapons. When you want to break something, you hit it with a rock. A really, really fast rock. 25 minutes, Danny announced. Morrison watched the tactical display. The Craddock ships were spreading out, surrounding the remaining Valine vessels. They were taking their time now, toying with their prey. They had no idea what was coming. All ships, this is Morrison, he broadcast to the fleet. When we arrive, we go in hot, alpha strike pattern on my mark. Target their command ship first. After that, free engagement. Protect the Valine ships, but don't hold back. I want every Craddock raider destroyed. Thank you for watching. War Master Zekthar was enjoying himself. The Valine ships burned in front of him, their weak shields collapsing under his fleet's plasma weapons. It was almost too easy. The Valine had no weapons, no armor worth mentioning. They just floated there and died. His second-in-command approached, clicking his mandibles with excitement. War Master, the boarding teams are ready. The cargo holds on those ships contain valuable minerals. The survivors will sell well at the slave markets. Zekthar felt satisfied. This raid would bring wealth and honor to his clan. The Valine carried rich trade goods. Their bodies would be worth good money too. Some species considered Valine flesh a delicacy. Yes, this was a profitable day. Then every alarm on his ship started screaming at once. War Master. His sensor operator's voice was high with panic. Multiple contacts. 8 ships emerging from fast travel. Unknown design. They're moving very fast. Zekthar turned to his tactical display. 8 new ships had appeared on the edge of the battle zone. They were smaller than his heavy cruisers, but they were accelerating at impossible speeds. Identity? Zekthar demanded. Their signals say they're human vessels. Humans? Zekthar felt confused. The humans were new to the galaxy. Weak primates, who had barely left their home system. They were traders and explorers. Nothing to fear. Perhaps they wanted to negotiate for the Valine survivors. Send them a message, Zekthar ordered. Tell them to leave, or they'll share the Valine fate. But before his communications officer could send anything, the human ships opened fire. Captain Morrison watched the tactical display with cold focus. The Craddock fleet spread across the battle zone like insects around food. 3 big cruisers at the center, smaller raiders and attack craft circling the dying Valine ships. The enemy had his people outnumbered, outgunned by conventional measurements. But Morrison didn't care about conventional measurements. All ships, weapons free, he commanded. Alpha strike on the lead cruiser. Fire. The Valkyrie's railguns fired first. Unlike the energy weapons that most aliens used, humans had perfected the art of throwing things really, really hard. Solid metal slugs accelerated to 3% of light speed. They crossed the distance to the Craddock command ship in less than 2 seconds. The first salvo hit the Craddock shields. For exactly 1 second, the shields held. Then they failed completely. The next wave of slugs punched through the ship's armor like it was paper. The heavy cruiser simply came apart, torn into pieces by the kinetic impacts. Katie Brooks stared at her screen. Direct hit. Enemy command ship destroyed. Morrison nodded. Next target. Keep firing. The Craddock fleet reacted quickly. These were experienced raiders, not amateurs. They turned to face the human ships, forming a battle line. Their plasma weapons charged up, ready to return fire. But the human ships were already moving. The Valkyrie pulled a turn at 8 times Earth gravity. The crew felt the pressure, but their training held. Humans evolved in heavy gravity. They could handle acceleration that would kill most other species. Enemy missiles incoming, Katie reported. Her voice was steady despite the crushing force of the turn. 74 plasma torpedoes. Impact in 20 seconds. Countermeasures, Morrison ordered. The Valkyrie's defensive systems came alive. Lasers and rapid-fire railguns created a wall of metal and energy. The Craddock missiles flew into that wall and died. Explosions lit up the space around the human ship. A few torpedoes got through and hit the Valkyrie's shields. The shields barely flickered. Lieutenant Greg Hamilton grinned from his tactical station. Their weapons are designed for other alien ships. Our shields were built to handle solar radiation and cosmic rays from Earth's sun. These plasma weapons are nothing. Then let's return the favor, Morrison said. All forward batteries, continuous fire. The Valkyrie's guns spoke again and again. Each shot was a solid piece of metal moving at incredible speed. The Craddock shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did almost nothing against physical impacts. Human railgun rounds punched through ship after ship. Across the battle zone, the other human vessels joined in. The destroyers Warhawk and Thunderchild swept around the enemy flanks, moving faster than anything the Craddock had ever seen. Their missiles left white trails through space, each one finding a target and detonating with devastating force. The cruisers Independence and Liberty formed a battle line and opened up with broadside fire. Their guns hammered the Craddock formation with precise, deadly accuracy. Every shot counted. Every shot killed. The carrier Nightfall launched its fighters. Small one-person craft burst from the carrier's launch bays. The pilots were men and women who thought nothing of pulling 12 times Earth gravity in combat maneuvers. They fell on the Craddock light raiders like wolves on sheep, and then there were the dreadnoughts. Commander Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching 3 Craddock heavy cruisers turn toward his ship. They fired everything they had. Plasma beams, missiles, particle weapons. The Retribution's shields took the hits and held. The ship's thick armor absorbed what got through. Is that all they have? Sullivan asked calmly. Apparently so, sir, his weapons officer replied. Then show them what a real warship can do. Main gun, target the center cruiser. The Retribution's main weapon was a spinal mount railgun that ran the entire length of the ship. It fired projectiles the size of small cars. When it spoke, the enemy cruiser in its sights simply ceased to exist as a ship. One moment, it was there. The next, it was an expanding cloud of debris. Next target, Sullivan ordered. The Ironclad, the other dreadnought, plowed straight through the Kratok formation. Enemy ships fired at it from all sides. The Ironclad's captain, a woman named Victoria Ross, didn't even try to dodge. She just kept going forward. Her ship's guns firing in all directions. Kratok raiders exploded. Medium cruisers broke apart. Light attack craft disintegrated under the withering fire. Warmaster Zekthar watched in horror as his fleet died around him. In less than 7 minutes of combat, he had lost 20 ships. 20. Against only 8 human vessels. It was impossible. It couldn't be happening. But it was. His tactical officer shouted a warning. Warmaster, one of their dreadnoughts is targeting us. Zekthar looked at his screen and saw the massive human ship turning toward him. He saw the enormous gun barrel pointing at his vessel. He tried to order evasive action, but his words caught in his throat. The Ironclad fired. Zekthar's ship exploded. The Warmaster died without knowing what hit him. Katie Brooks updated her tactical board. Enemy command structure is gone. They're breaking formation. Morrison saw it too. The Kratok ships were scattering, trying to escape. Some headed for the asteroid field. Others ran toward the nearby gas giant. A few tried to make the jump to faster-than-light travel. All ships pursue, Morrison commanded. Don't let any escape. I want every single raider destroyed. The human fleet broke up to chase down the fleeing enemy. It became a hunt. The Warhawk and Thunderchild were fastest. They caught the raiders heading for the asteroids and tore them apart with missiles and gunfire. Lieutenant Chris Palmer flew his fighter through the asteroid field, chasing a Kratok raider. The enemy ship was faster in a straight line, but Palmer had grown up racing ships through Saturn's rings. He knew how to fly in tight spaces. He cut through a narrow gap between 2 spinning rocks. The Kratok tried to follow and scraped its hull on an asteroid. The impact slowed it down just enough. Palmer lined up his shot and fired. His autocannon spat tungsten rounds and the enemy ship came apart. Near the gas giant, Commander Angela Price led a squadron of fighters. 4 Kratok ships were trying to reach jump distance. Price's squadron caught them just in time. All units, fire on my mark, she commanded. 3, 2, 1, mark. 24 missiles launched together. The Kratok tried to evade, but Price had fought in 100 simulations. She knew every move they could make. The missiles tracked true and found their targets. 3 enemy ships exploded. The 4th, damaged but still moving, tried to turn and fight. Big mistake. Price's fighter dove in close and fired a sustained burst into the raiders' engines. The ship went dead, drifting helplessly in space. Nightfall, this is Price. We have a cripple here. What should we do with it? Commander Lisa Hayes checked her tactical display from the carrier. The main battle was almost over. Only a handful of Kratok ships were still running. Captain Morrison had given clear orders. No survivors. Price, pull their computer data for intelligence, then destroy it, Hayes ordered. Price acknowledged. She transmitted hacking codes to the crippled ship. Human cyber warfare systems had proven devastatingly effective against alien computers. Within seconds, they had everything. Navigation data, communication logs, coordinates for slave markets. Got it all. Nightfall, transmitting now. Received. Good work. Now finish it. Price fired one last missile. The crippled raider exploded into fragments. All across the battle zone, the same scene played out. Human ships hunted down Kratok raiders with methodical efficiency. The cruiser Independence cornered 3 ships, trying to hide in a nebula. Their sensors found the raiders easily, and their guns did the rest. The Warhawk caught a damaged heavy cruiser trying to limp away. The destroyer's captain, Commander Alex Stone, showed no mercy. His railguns hammered the enemy ship until it broke in half. Morrison watched it all from the Valkyrie's bridge. The tactical display showed fewer and fewer red enemy markers. The Craddock fleet was being wiped out completely. Final count? He asked Katie. She checked her console. 37 Craddock ships engaged. 37. Deester, the Valine convoy leader, appeared on the communication screen. His name was Telvan, and his large eyes were wet with emotion. His voice shook when he spoke. "You came," he said simply. "We thought we were dead. We sent the distress call, but we never expected anyone to arrive in time. And then you appeared and you saved us." Captain Morrison looked at the gentle alien and felt his anger at the Craddock burn even hotter. These peaceful people had done nothing wrong. They were just trying to conduct trade, to live their lives, and raiders had attacked them for profit. "You're our friends, Telvan," Morrison said. "When friends call for help, we answer. That's what allies do." Telvan's eyes grew wider. "But the cost. Your ships took damage. Your crew risked their lives. All for us." Morrison almost smiled. "Our ships have some scratched paint. Nothing more. The Craddock, on the other hand, don't exist anymore. Not a single one of them survived." The Valine was quiet for a moment. "You destroyed all of them? Every ship?" "Every single one," Morrison confirmed. "They were slavers and murderers. We don't negotiate with people like that. We end them." Telvan looked shocked but also grateful. "The galaxy will hear of this. What you did here today will spread across every system." "Good," Morrison said firmly. "Let it spread. Let everyone know what happens when you attack peaceful people. Let them know that humans protect their friends." After the communication ended, Morrison turned to his crew. "Status report on the Valine ships?" Lieutenant Sarah Martinez checked her console. "All 7 surviving ships are stable. Our medical teams are aboard now. Some of the Valine have injuries, but nothing critical." "We saved them, sir. All of them." Morrison nodded. "And the intelligence data from that crippled raider?" "We pulled everything," Katie Brooks reported. "Coordinates for 6 slave markets. Communication logs showing deals with other criminal organizations. Navigation routes for their supply lines. This is huge, sir. We can shut down their entire operation. Send it all to command." Morrison ordered. "Let them coordinate with the other species. The Craddock slave trade ends today." Across human space, news of the battle spread quickly. The military command reviewed the combat footage with great interest. Analysts studied the tactics. Engineers examined the weapon performance data. Politicians prepared for the diplomatic storm they knew was coming. And storm it was. Within hours, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. Ambassador Helen Wright stood in her office on Unity Station, preparing for the meeting. She knew it would be difficult. The Council valued procedure and negotiation above all else. What humanity had done, destroying an entire fleet without warning or trial, would upset many of the member species. But Wright didn't care. She had reviewed the battle data herself. She had seen the recordings of Craddock raiders murdering Valine civilians. She had read the intelligence reports about slave markets and brutal treatment of captured species. The Craddock had earned their fate. Her assistant, a young diplomat named Eric Chen, entered the office. "Ambassador, the Council is ready for you. It's going to be hostile." Wright smiled coldly. "Let them be hostile. We saved innocent lives today. I'm not going to apologize for that." She walked into the council chamber with her head held high. The huge amphitheater was filled with representatives from 200 species. The noise level was incredible. Everyone was shouting, arguing, demanding answers. The council speaker, an elderly Valorian named Tekmol, called for order. It took several minutes for the chamber to quiet down. When it finally did, Tekmol looked directly at Wright. "Ambassador Wright, your military forces have committed an act of extreme violence. 37 ships destroyed. Thousands dead, all without warning, without negotiation, without giving the Craddock a chance to surrender. Wright stepped to the speaker's platform. Her voice was calm and clear. Council speaker. The Kratok were actively murdering civilians when we arrived. They had already destroyed 15 Valine ships. They were preparing to take the survivors as slaves. We stopped them. A delegate from the insectoid Velkari species stood up. Your response was too much. You could have disabled their ships, captured them for trial. Instead, you killed everyone. In the 19 minutes our battle lasted, the Kratok destroyed 3 more Valine ships, Wright said firmly. Every second we wasted on negotiations meant more innocent deaths. We don't negotiate with murderers while their victims are dying. We stop the killing, immediately and permanently. Another delegate, a crystalline being, spoke up. This is barbaric. Such violence shows no respect for life. Wright felt her temper rise. No respect for life? The Kratok were going to eat some of their prisoners. They were going to sell others into slavery. They showed no respect for life. We simply ended their ability to hurt anyone ever again. The chamber erupted in arguments again. Some species agreed with Wright. Others were horrified by human tactics. The debate raged for almost an hour. Finally, Wright had enough. She stepped to the center of the platform and raised her voice. Let me make something very clear to this council. Humanity comes from Earth. The galaxy calls it a death world. And that name is accurate. Our planet tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. Extreme weather, dangerous predators, deadly diseases. High gravity that crushed weaker species. We survived because we became tougher than everything else. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from across the galaxy. When we reached the stars, we hoped to find peace. We wanted to be part of the galactic community, and species like the Valine welcomed us with open arms. They were kind to us when others were afraid. They offered friendship and trade. They treated us with respect. Wright's voice got harder. And when those friends called for help, we came. We will always come. That's what humans do. We protect the people we care about. Is that a threat? Tekmal asked quietly. It's a promise, Wright replied. Attack our friends and we will respond. Engage in slavery, piracy, or murder in our territory, and we will stop you. We won't debate it. We won't form committees to study it. We will simply end the threat. That's the price of threatening a Deathworlder's allies. The chamber fell completely silent. Delegates looked at each other nervously. Some looked angry. Others looked thoughtful. A few looked afraid. Tekmal finally spoke. The council will consider your statement. This session is adjourned. As the delegates filed out, many of them gave Wright a wide berth. She didn't mind. Fear could prevent wars better than diplomacy sometimes, but not everyone avoided her. The Valine delegate, a female named Sirami, approached with tears in her eyes. Ambassador Wright, you have made enemies today. Powerful enemies who will not forget this. Wright nodded. I know. But the Valine convoy is alive because we didn't hesitate. That matters more than politics. Ah. Sirami's voice was thick with emotion. We will never forget what your people did. Whatever happens next, the Valine stand with humanity. Always. Wright smiled genuinely for the first time that day. Thank you. That means everything to us. News of the battle and the council session spread across the galaxy at light speed. In bars and trading posts on 1,000 worlds, people talked about the humans, the Deathworlders who had destroyed an entire raiding fleet in 19 minutes. The warriors who protected their friends with overwhelming force. In the Kratok capital city, the High Command met in emergency session. Their losses were devastating. Not just ships and soldiers, but reputation and pride. They had been humiliated by a species they had dismissed as weak. We must respond, General Krevtok insisted, slamming his claw on the table. Attack their colonies, raid their trade routes. Show them they cannot treat the Kratok Empire this way. But General Vexlar shook his head. Are you insane? They destroyed 37 ships in 19 minutes. Our best ships. Our most experienced crews. What do you think will happen if we attack their home territory? They only had 8 ships, Krevtok argued. 8 ships that killed everything we sent, Vexlar snapped back. Their weapons go through our shields like they're not there. Their ships move at accelerations that would kill our crews. Their tactics are brutal and efficient. If we attack them, they will destroy us completely. The debate went on for hours. Some generals wanted revenge. Others wanted to save what was left of their military. In the end, survival won out. For the first time in their history, the Kratok Empire issued a formal apology. They offered reparations to the Valine. They promised to cease all raiding operations in human territory. It hurt their pride terribly, but the alternative was annihilation. Other criminal organizations took notice. The Jalvek Syndicate, famous for their piracy, quietly withdrew from 3 star systems near human space. The Morlax Collective, who had been planning raids on human mining operations, suddenly decided that diplomatic trade was a better option. In the shadow markets where slaves were bought and sold, business dried up overnight. Traders were terrified that human warships would appear and destroy them. And they were right to be terrified. Human intelligence services now had coordinates for 6 major slave markets. Plans were already being made. On the Valkyrie, Captain Morrison reviewed damage reports. As he had told the Valine, the damage was minor. Some scored armor. A few burned out shield emitters. Nothing that couldn't be fixed in a day or 2. Lieutenant Katie Brooks approached him. Captain, we're getting messages from all over the sector. Other species asking if we'll protect them too. Traders wanting to know if human ships will escort their convoys. Morrison considered that. What does command say? They're still deciding. But I think this is going to change everything, sir. We just showed the galaxy that humans don't run from a fight. That we protect our allies no matter what. Other species are going to want that protection. Morrison looked out at the stars. We came to space looking for peace, but I guess we brought our own kind of peace with us. The kind backed up by railguns and determination. Again, 6 months passed since the battle with the Kratok Raiders. Captain Jack Morrison stood on Unity Station, looking out at the stars through the massive observation window. He had been summoned to meet with the Galactic Council again, though this time the tone of the invitation had been very different. Ambassador Helen Wright walked up beside him. She looked tired, but satisfied. They're ready for us now. Win the MRI. Thanks for watching. Write with to the subscribe. They're ready for us now. How many delegates this time? Morrison asked. Only 30. The ones who actually matter. Wright smiled slightly. The ones who are smart enough to see opportunity instead of just threats. They entered the council chamber together. It was much quieter than the last time Morrison had been here. The 30 delegates sat in a semicircle, watching as Morrison and Wright took their positions at the speaker's platform. Council Speaker Tekmal stood up. The elderly Valorian looked at Morrison with an expression that might have been respect. Captain Morrison, in the 6 months since the Kratok incident, this sector has changed dramatically. Piracy has dropped by 73%. Slave trading arrests have increased 5 times over. 3 major criminal organizations have completely shut down their operations. Morrison nodded but said nothing. He let the speaker continue. It appears that humanity's reputation as Deathworlders has created a strong deterrent effect. Raiders and criminals now avoid any system where humans might respond. They fear you. Oh nah. A Valine delegate stood up. It was Telvan, the convoy leader Morrison had saved. Captain Morrison, your actions saved not only my ships but countless others since then. The Kratok have stopped all raiding operations completely. Pirates flee at the mention of human warships. We believe that a coordinated defense force, led by human military thinking, could bring real security to this entire region of space. Morrison looked at Wright, who gave him a slight nod. This was what they had expected. What they had hoped for. What exactly are you proposing? Morrison asked the council. Tekmal gestured to the assembled delegates. We want to form a mutual defense coalition. Multiple species working together to protect civilian shipping and innocent worlds. And we want you to command it." Morrison was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the battle 6 months ago. About the Valine ships dying while they waited for help. About how close they had come to being too late. "I appreciate the offer," Morrison said carefully. "But you need to understand something. If you want humans to lead a defense force, you need to know how we operate. We don't do warning shots. We don't do proportional response. When we engage an enemy, we engage to win, completely and decisively." A reptilian delegate from the Scarith species stood up. "We understand. Captain, we have reviewed all the data from your battle with the Kratok fleet. Your tactics are aggressive, yes, very aggressive. But they are also incredibly effective. And more importantly, your crews showed great skill in protecting civilian ships. Not a single Valine vessel was damaged by your weapons despite the chaos of the battle." Another delegate spoke up. "We are not asking you to change your methods, Captain Morrison. We are asking you to use them on our behalf. To protect those who cannot protect themselves." Morrison looked at each delegate in turn. These were representatives of peaceful species. Traders, explorers, scientists. They had lived in relative safety for generations because the galaxy was mostly civilized. But that safety had been an illusion. The Kratok attack had proven that. "I'll do it," Morrison said finally. "On one condition. I choose my own officers, and I need authority to act without waiting for council approval. When someone sends a distress call, we respond immediately, not in a week after committees meet, not after we debate the legal aspects. Immediately." Tekmal didn't hesitate. "Agreed. We will provide ships, resources, and personnel from across the council species. But your human crews will form the core of the fleet. You will have complete tactical authority." Wright smiled. This was better than they had hoped for. And so the Defense Coalition was born. Over the next months, Morrison assembled a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Human captains commanded mixed crews of different species who had never worked together. Human Marines trained aliens in close combat tactics. Human engineers taught their counterparts about kinetic weapons and efficient shield designs. Lieutenant Katie Brooks became head of tactical operations for the entire coalition. She worked from a command center on Unity Station, coordinating battle strategies and tracking criminal activity across 12 sectors. Commander Lisa Hayes took charge of the carrier group. Her fighters, now including pilots from 4 different species, became a nightmare for pirates and raiders. She trained them hard, pushing them to match human performance standards. Many failed at first, but those who succeeded became some of the finest combat pilots in the galaxy. Commander Jake Sullivan's dreadnought Retribution became the coalition flagship. He added 2 more dreadnoughts to his command, the Defender and the Guardian, both crewed by mixed human and alien teams. Together they formed a battle group that could show up anywhere trouble arose. The coalition's first real test came 3 months after its formation. A human colony world, called New Perth, sent a distress signal. Jalvik pirates were attacking the orbital stations, trying to steal refined metals from the mining operations. Morrison's response was immediate. The Retribution, 2 cruisers, and a carrier group jumped into the system within 2 hours of the distress call. The Jalvik pirates took one look at the human dreadnought and surrendered without firing a shot. They knew what would happen if they fought. Morrison accepted their surrender but made sure they faced trial for their crimes. Every pirate received long prison sentences. The second test was more serious. The Morlax Collective, despite their earlier promises, decided to raid a colony of peaceful Venturi people. The Venturi were farmers and artists. They had no weapons, no military, nothing to defend themselves with. The Morlax attacked with overwhelming force, 20 warships against a defenseless agricultural world. They demanded the Venturi surrender all their food stores and valuable artworks or face bombardment. The Venturi leader, an elderly female named Kessa Emi, sent a simple message to the Defense Coalition. "Please help us. We have no one else." Morrison's fleet arrived 4 hours later. The Morlax commander, seeing only 8 ships against his 20, laughed and opened fire. It was a mistake, a fatal one. The battle lasted 12 minutes. Morrison's forces, now experienced and perfectly coordinated, tore through the Morlax fleet like a blade through paper. The human railguns punched through Morlax shields. The fighters swarmed their larger ships. The dreadnoughts simply walked through their formation, destroying everything in their path. 15 Morlax ships were destroyed outright. 5 surrendered when they saw how quickly their fleet was dying. The Morlax commander's ship tried to flee, but Commander Sullivan personally chased it down and disabled it with precise fire. When the smoke cleared, the Venturi world was safe. Not a single civilian had been harmed. Morrison's ships had positioned themselves between the planet and the enemy fleet, protecting the surface from any stray shots. Kesami appeared on Morrison's communication screen, tears streaming down her face. "You saved us. We have no military, no weapons, no way to repay you." Morrison smiled gently. "You don't need to repay us. That's what the Coalition is for. To protect those who can't protect themselves." News of the victory spread quickly. Other peaceful species began requesting Coalition protection. Trade routes that had been abandoned due to piracy reopened. Worlds that had lived in fear started to feel safe again. But the Coalition's greatest achievement came 6 months after its formation, on a world called Verlax. The Verlaxians were peaceful farmers who lived on a planet rich with valuable minerals. A corporate consortium decided they wanted those minerals. They hired mercenaries, thousands of them, and gave the Verlaxians an ultimatum. Leave the planet or die. The Verlaxians sent a desperate message to the Defense Coalition. Morrison's entire fleet responded. 8 dreadnoughts, 12 cruisers, 20 destroyers, 4 carrier groups. It was the largest force the Coalition had ever assembled. They arrived in Verlax orbit to find 63 mercenary ships waiting. The mercenary commander, a brutal Kraxan named Vorlek, opened a channel to Morrison. "You're outnumbered, human. Turn back now or we'll destroy you." Morrison's response was cold and simple. "You have 1 hour to leave this system. Any ship that remains will be considered hostile and destroyed. This is your only warning." Vorlek laughed. 1 hour? We'll use that time to start our bombardment. Let's see how brave you are when we're killing civilians." Morrison cut the transmission. He looked at his tactical officers. Katie Brooks, Greg Hamilton, Lisa Hayes on the carrier, Sullivan on the retribution. All of them ready. They chose their path, Morrison said quietly. "When the hour is up, we show them what happens when you threaten innocence. No mercy. No prisoners except those who surrender immediately. Understood?" The acknowledgments came back from all ships. They were ready. 59 minutes later, 63 mercenary ships remained in orbit. They had begun moving into bombardment positions. They thought Morrison was bluffing. He wasn't. "All ships, engage," Morrison ordered. The Defense Coalition fleet opened fire with everything they had. Railguns, missiles, particle beams, fighter strikes. The mercenaries, confident in their numbers, tried to fight back. They lasted 9 minutes. The Coalition forces moved with perfect coordination. Years of training and multiple battles had turned them into a devastating war machine. Human tactics combined with alien technology, Deathworlder aggression backed by superior firepower. 41 mercenary ships were destroyed in the first 5 minutes. The rest tried to surrender or flee. Morrison accepted surrenders from those who dropped their shields immediately. Those who tried to run were hunted down and destroyed. Commander Angela Price, now leading an entire fighter wing, chased down 3 fleeing ships herself. Her pilots had learned from human instructors. They knew how to fight without mercy when innocents were at stake. When the battle ended, the Verlaxians were safe. The mercenary threat was eliminated. Vorlek himself was captured when his ship was disabled. He would face trial for attempted genocide. The corporate consortium that hired him faced massive fines and sanctions. Several executives were arrested. The galaxy was learning that threatening innocent worlds had consequences now. Morrison stood on the surface of Verlax, watching children play in the fields. The Verlaxian leader, an elderly male named Tevkor, stood beside him. "You have changed everything, Captain," Tevkor said softly. "Before the coalition, worlds like mine lived in fear. We knew that anyone with weapons could threaten us, and we could do nothing. But now we have hope." 2 years after the Defense Coalition was formed, Captain Jack Morrison sat in his ready room aboard the Retribution, reviewing reports. The coalition had grown beyond anything he had imagined. 43 species were now members. The fleet included over 200 ships, and crime in their sectors had dropped to almost nothing. But Morrison knew the real work was just beginning. Lieutenant Katie Brooks entered his office. She was now Commander Brooks, promoted for her excellent tactical work. She carried a datapad with a concerned look on her face. "Sir, we have a situation. Planet Xerxon 4. It's a research colony studying rare plants. They sent a distress signal 20 minutes ago. Unknown ships are approaching their system." Morrison stood up immediately. "How many ships?" "At least 30, maybe more. They're using some kind of stealth technology, so our long-range sensors can't get an exact count." Katie pulled up the tactical display. "The research colony has no defenses, just scientists and their families. About 8,000 people total. Time to intercept? 3 hours at maximum speed." Morrison activated his command channel. "All Coalition ships. This is Morrison. We have an emergency on Xerxon 4. I need every available vessel to converge on those coordinates immediately." "Battle readiness." "Alpha." Responses came flooding back. The Dreadnought Guardian acknowledged, from 2 sectors away. The cruiser Liberty was already changing course. Destroyer groups from 3 different species reported they were moving to intercept. Morrison headed for the bridge. Commander Jake Sullivan was already there, coordinating with the other ships. "Status?" Morrison asked. "We'll have 12 ships on site in 3 hours, Sullivan reported. "Another 8 can arrive within 4 hours. The unknowns are still approaching Xerxon 4, but they haven't entered weapons range yet. Do we have any identification on them?" Katie shook her head. "No. Their ship signatures don't match anything in our database." This is something new. Morrison felt a cold weight in his stomach. New threats were always dangerous. The Coalition had become very good at dealing with known enemies. Pirates, slavers, raiders, they all used similar tactics and technology. But an unknown force could be anything. "Send a message to Xerxon 4, Morrison ordered. "Tell them help is coming. Tell them to evacuate everyone to their underground shelters and stay there until we give the all clear." The next 3 hours were tense. Morrison watched the tactical display as Coalition ships raced toward Xerxon 4 from multiple directions. The unknown vessels continued their slow approach toward the planet. Finally, the Retribution and the first wave of Coalition ships arrived in the system. Morrison got his first clear look at the enemy. They were massive, 32 ships, each one larger than his dreadnought. They had strange, organic-looking hulls and weapons that didn't match any known technology. As soon as the Coalition fleet appeared, the unknown ships stopped their advance. "Hail them," Morrison ordered. The communication screen activated, showing a creature unlike anything Morrison had ever seen. It was vaguely humanoid but covered in dark scales. Its eyes glowed with an eerie blue light. When it spoke, the translator struggled to convert the words. "I am Warlord Kresisvak of the Zethari Empire. This world now belongs to us. Leave immediately or be destroyed." Morrison kept his expression neutral. "I am Captain Jack Morrison of the Defense Coalition. Xerxon 4 is under our protection. You have no claim to this world. Leave now and there won't be trouble." Kresisvak made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your 12 small ships against our 32 battle cruisers? You are brave but foolish human. We are the Zethari. We have conquered 100 worlds. We do not fear you. Then you should start," Morrison said coldly. "Because this is your only warning. Leave now, or we will remove you by force." The Zethari warlord cut the transmission. A moment later, all 32 enemy ships powered up their weapons. Katie checked her sensors. Sir, those weapons are putting out incredible energy readings, much higher than anything we've encountered before. If they hit us, it's going to hurt. Morrison nodded. Then we don't let them hit us. All ships, evasive pattern Delta. Long-range engagement. Keep moving, and keep shooting. We buy time until our reinforcements arrive. The Zethari opened fire first. Beams of purple energy lanced across space. They were fast and powerful. The coalition ships scattered, using their superior speed to avoid the initial barrage. One beam clipped the destroyer Falcon, and the ship's shields dropped by 30% from a single hit. Those weapons are serious, Commander Sullivan said grimly. We can't take many hits like that. Then we hit them harder, Morrison replied. All ships, concentrate fire on the lead vessel. Maximum firepower. The coalition fleet coordinated their attack perfectly. Years of working together had made them an efficient fighting force. Railguns from 3 ships fired simultaneously at the Zethari lead battlecruiser. Missiles from 2 destroyers followed half a second later. Fighter squadrons launched from the carrier Nightfall, carrying heavy anti-ship torpedoes. The Zethari ship's shields held against the railgun rounds. The missiles detonated against the barrier, creating massive explosions but not breaking through. The fighters released their torpedoes and veered away as the enemy point defense tried to shoot them down. Morrison watched intently. The torpedoes, designed by human engineers, were fast and tough. 3 made it through the defensive fire and struck the Zethari shields. Finally, there was a result. The shields flickered and failed. The battlecruiser's hull was exposed. Again, Morrison ordered. Same target. Don't give them time to recover. The Retribution's main gun fired. The massive railgun slug crossed the distance in a heartbeat and punched through the Zethari ship's armor. The battlecruiser shuddered from the impact, but didn't break apart. Their hulls are tough, Sullivan observed. Tougher than the Kratok had. Then we hit them more times, Morrison said simply. The battle became a deadly dance. The coalition ships used their speed and agility to avoid the powerful Zethari energy weapons. They struck at individual targets, concentrating fire to overwhelm shields and damage hulls. The Zethari, used to fighting less mobile opponents, struggled to land solid hits, but there were 32 of them and only 12 coalition ships. Even with superior tactics, the numbers were against Morrison's force. The destroyer Phoenix took a direct hit and lost all power. It drifted helplessly in space. The cruiser Independence absorbed 3 beam strikes and had to fall back with critical damage. The dreadnought Guardian's shields failed, and it took hull damage along the starboard side. Morrison checked the countdown timer. Reinforcements would arrive in 28 minutes. They just had to hold out until then. All ships, defensive formation around the Guardian, Morrison ordered. We protect the damaged vessels. The coalition fleet regrouped, forming a protective sphere around the injured ships. The Zethari pressed their advantage, moving closer and increasing their fire rate. Then Commander Lisa Hayes saw an opportunity. 3 Zethari battlecruisers had moved ahead of their formation, trying to flank the coalition fleet. They were isolated from their support. Captain, I can take them, Hayes said over the command channel from the Nightfall. Give me 2 minutes, and those 3 ships are mine. Morrison made the decision instantly. Do it. All fighters. Support the Nightfall. Everyone else. Keep the main Zethari force busy. Hayes launched every fighter she had. Over 100 small craft swarmed toward the 3 isolated battlecruisers. The Zethari tried to shoot them down, but fighter pilots trained by humans were the best in the galaxy. They dodged, weaved, and closed to attack range. Commander Angela Price led the assault. Her squadron hit the first battlecruiser from 6 different angles simultaneously. Torpedoes slammed into its shields from every direction. The shields, designed to face threats from one direction at a time, couldn't handle the multi-vector attack. They collapsed. The exposed battlecruiser died quickly under concentrated fire. The second and third ships tried to retreat back to their formation, but Hayes had positioned her destroyers perfectly. The Warhawk and Thunderchild caught them in a crossfire. In 90 seconds, all 3 Zythari battlecruisers were destroyed. Warlord Kresvak watched in shock as 3 of his ships died. These humans and their allies were far better than he had expected. He had conquered many worlds with ease. But this was different. These defenders fought with skill and courage. Maybe it was time to reconsider. But before Kresvak could give orders, the tactical situation changed completely. 8 more coalition ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. The reinforcements had arrived early. Morrison smiled when he saw them. The Dreadnought Defender, 3 cruisers, 4 destroyer squadrons. Now the numbers were much more even. All ships, full assault, Morrison commanded. Break their formation. Show them what the coalition can do. The reinforced coalition fleet attacked with devastating coordination. Human ships worked alongside Valine cruisers. Skarath destroyers fought next to Venturi frigates. Species that had never been warriors before now fought with the skill and determination they had learned from humans. The Zythari formation broke under the assault. Their ships were powerful, but their tactics were rigid. They expected enemies to stand and trade shots. They didn't know how to handle an opponent that moved constantly, struck from unexpected angles, and refused to fight fair. The coalition exploited every weakness. Fighters targeted sensor arrays and weapon systems. Cruisers disabled engines with precise railgun fire. Dreadnoughts hammered shields until they failed, then switched targets to spread the damage. In 15 minutes, 12 Zythari battlecruisers were destroyed. 7 more were disabled and drifting. The remaining 13 ships tried to retreat. Morrison gave the order he always gave. Pursue. Don't let them escape. They came here to conquer. They need to learn that doesn't work anymore. The coalition ships chased down the fleeing Zythari. It was methodical and ruthless. One by one, the enemy battlecruisers were caught and destroyed. Some surrendered when they saw there was no escape. Morrison accepted their surrender and took them prisoner. When it was over, 32 Zythari ships had been reduced to 0 effective combat vessels. 21 destroyed outright. 11 captured. The Zythari Empire's invasion force had been completely eliminated. Warlord Kresvak sat in his command chair, watching his ship being towed to a coalition base. He had lost everything. His fleet, his honor, his freedom, and all because he had underestimated these strange alliance of species led by humans. He requested to speak with Morrison one final time. The human captain appeared on his screen, looking tired but satisfied. "You defeated us completely," Kresvak said. "How?" "We are the Zythari. We have conquered many worlds. We have powerful weapons and strong ships." Morrison looked at him for a long moment before answering. "You had power, but you fought alone. The coalition has something more important than power. We have trust, we have cooperation, and we have the determination of Deathworlders backing it all up." "Deathworlders," Kresvak repeated. "I have heard this term. What does it mean?" "It means we come from a world that tried to kill us every day," Morrison explained. "We survived because we learned to protect each other, to work together, to never give up no matter how bad things got. And when we found peaceful species among the stars, we decided to protect them too." Morrison's expression hardened. "You came here to take a world full of innocent researchers, to conquer people who never hurt anyone. That's why you lost. Because the coalition exists to stop people like you, and we're very, very good at it." The transmission ended. Kresvak sat in silence, understanding at last. The galaxy had changed. There was a new power now. One that didn't conquer or enslave. One that protected and defended. And that power would not be stopped. On Xerxon 4, the researchers emerged from their shelters to find the threat gone. Morrison's ships were in orbit, keeping watch. The scientists organized a celebration, thanking the coalition for saving their lives and their work. Morrison didn't stay long for the celebration. There was always another threat somewhere. Another call for help that would need answering. That was the way of things now. Before leaving, he met with the head researcher, a gentle Valine scientist named Dr. Peltar. "Captain Morrison, how can we ever repay you?" the doctor asked. "You risked your lives for us. We're just researchers studying plants." Morrison smiled. "You don't need to repay us. You're part of the coalition. We protect each other. That's how it works. But you do most of the protecting," Peltar pointed out. "The humans and their allies fight while species like mine just study and explore." "Your research might cure diseases someday," Morrison said. "Or feed hungry people. Or solve problems we can't even imagine yet. That's valuable too. We protect you, so you can do that work. It's not charity. It's partnership." As the Retribution left the Xerxon 4 system, Morrison stood on the bridge looking at the stars. Commander Sullivan joined him. "Another victory," Sullivan said. "Another enemy defeated." Morrison nodded. "And another message sent. The Xi-Thari Empire will tell others what happened here. Word will spread that this part of space is protected, that innocent people don't stand alone anymore." "The Deathworlder way," Sullivan said with a slight smile. "No," Morrison corrected gently. "Just the right way. The strong protecting the weak. The capable defending those who can't defend themselves. Humans didn't invent that idea. We just refuse to forget it." Across the galaxy, the story of the Battle of Xerxon 4 spread quickly. The Xi-Thari, feared conquerors of 100 worlds, had been completely destroyed by the Defense Coalition. Species everywhere heard the tale and understood the message. Pirates and raiders stayed away from Coalition space. Slavers found other hunting grounds. Warlords and conquerors looked for easier targets, because everyone knew that if you threatened innocent people in Coalition territory, the response would be swift and overwhelming. And somewhere on every Coalition ship, human or otherwise, there was a saying printed in multiple languages: "When someone calls for help, we answer. We answer with everything we have. And the enemy does not survive." That was the promise of the Defense Coalition. That was the legacy of humanity's entry into the galactic community. Not conquest or domination, but protection and justice. The Deathworlders had found their place among the stars. Not as tyrants or rulers, but as guardians. And they would hold that position for as long as innocence needed defending. Because that was who they were. That was what Earth had taught them through millions of years of struggle and survival. Take care of your own. Protect those who can't protect themselves. And when enemies come, fight with everything you have until the threat is ended. No mercy for those who prey on the weak. No surrender while innocence needs saving. No retreat until the battle is won. That was the human way. The Deathworlder way. The way that had changed the galaxy forever. Have protectors. Morrison shook his head. "We're not just protectors. We're partners. The coalition includes species from across this sector now. Humans, Valine, Skarath, Venturi, and more. We all work together." "But you lead it," Tevkor pointed out. "The humans lead it. For now," Morrison agreed. "But we're training others. Teaching them our tactics, our strategies. Eventually, the coalition won't need humans to lead it. It will be strong enough on its own." Tevkor looked at him with wise old eyes. "I don't think that day will come, Captain. Other species may learn your tactics, but they will never have your determination. That comes from being a Deathworlder, from surviving on a planet that tried to kill you." Morrison didn't argue. Maybe Tevkor was right. Maybe humans would always be the core of the coalition. Katie smiled slightly. "The Deathworlder way." "Just the human way," Morrison corrected. "We take care of our friends. It's who we are." In the days that followed, humanity's reputation across the galaxy changed completely. They were no longer seen as friendly newcomers trying to fit in. They were seen as protectors, dangerous when threatened, loyal to their allies, and utterly relentless in combat. A new saying started to spread through the trading posts and space stations. Whenever someone talked about calling for help, about hoping for rescue, someone would say it. "Call the humans," they answer. And when they answer, The enemy doesn't survive. It was the truth. Brutal, simple truth. The Kratok had learned it the hard way. And every criminal, raider, and slaver in the galaxy was learning it now. Don't threaten humanity's friends. Because Deathworlders don't show mercy to those who hurt the innocent. Oid. 0 escaped, 0 survivors. And our status? Minor damage to 3 ships. Some shield burns. A few hull scratches. No casualties. All ships remain combat ready. Morrison nodded slowly. The entire battle had lasted 19 minutes from first shot to last. In 19 minutes, the human fleet had annihilated an enemy force that outnumbered them 5-1. What about the Valine? Morrison asked quietly. Katie's expression softened. 7 ships survived. They're damaged but stable. No casualties in the last 20 minutes. They're going to make it, sir. Morrison felt the tension leave his shoulders. They had been fast enough. Brutal enough. The Valine would live. Get rescue teams over there immediately, he ordered. Full medical support. I want those ships repaired and ready to travel as soon as possible. He opened a communication channel. A holographic image appeared, showing the Valine convoy leader. The alien had soft blue fur and large, gentle eyes. Those eyes were filled with tears. The confirmations came back from all 7 other ships. They were ready. Morrison looked at his crew one more time. Katie at tactical, Danny at navigation, Greg at weapons, Lieutenant Sarah Martinez at communications, Lieutenant Bobby Nash at engineering. All of them were focused and calm. They trusted him. They trusted each other. And they were about to show the galaxy what humans could do when someone hurt their friends. 15 minutes, Danny said quietly. The Valkyrie and her sister ships raced through space, engines burning bright. Behind them was Earth, the world that had forged them in fire and gravity and endless competition. Ahead was a battle that would change everything. The Kratok were about to learn a hard lesson. When you called for help in space, you hoped someone would answer. And when humans answered, they didn't come to negotiate. They came to win.